good morning, good morning, YouTube viewers. Good morning, Facebook Nation. Good morning to all people, all colors, all races, all around the world. Good morning to everyone. It's hot, it's humid in here, but we're doing it. And for you out there, everybody, stay hydrated. Drink liquids. Summer isn't even here yet, and this is what this topic is about because it's about to get hot, hot, hot. Not only physically as far as the sun, but for everything that's going on, not just here in America, but all over the world, and all over the world is feeling it because all things tie together. It's only when we put ourselves in bubbles that we can't see what's going on outside, but what's outside is coming in to your bubbles. So before we start, click like, subscribe, share. Um, there's a lot of different topics that we talk about on this channel that have to do with things that we go through in our everyday life and different ways of looking at situations in our lives to make better choices. Just another way of looking at things. And before our topic starts, um, condolences to the young woman in Durham who unfortunately lost her life. 14 years old to another 14-year-old kid. And this is not in my neighborhood. It's in suburban America. It's right in your neighborhoods and every neighborhood around the world, where we don't think that, people can do the things that they do. But we're not going to discuss, what's going on in that situation. So I posted the news clipping to my Facebook account. So you can go and look it up on Facebook, on my page. And as well, there's two articles, and one was about what happened a couple of days ago, in that situation with the 14-year-old girl, and another situation where I posted a video about what we're talking about. Both tie in, and what the second video is about is a group of former sports players who played with a basketball player who was bullied for the first years of coming into a sport. 12 years, 10 years out, so I think it's something like 22 years. Kid never spoke about it. Now he's speaking about it, and he's receiving backlash, as well as people pushing a narrative on his mental state. So before we start, the topic itself is I don't even know a topic to give to it. I'm just going to go along, and by the end of this video, I'll know what that topic is, but I know what we're going to be talking about. In my last video, I talked about mass shootings and how these things, well, I've been talking about it since last year, that this year was going to be something that, is going to be tragic. The bubbles people live in, they're about to be broken on a grand scale. And, but there's good news from that, and that's the second video where the former athletes who played alongside of this player who was being, abused, they're speaking out, and this is what this is about. There's a narrative that gets put out there, and if you go against the narrative and you say, you tell the truth, you get castrated for it. And we're living in that world, so that we're basically being put into a bubble and basically told to walk with blinders on. And when you speak out, there's a penalty. And we can look at the case that's going on in Belarus right now, where they had a government lie and say that there was a bomb on a plane just so they could arrest a news reporter and his girlfriend for writing stories that people in that country, the powers in that country, they didn't agree with. It went against their narrative that they were trying to spin to the people, and they were willing to bring this person in. Now his mother is pleading to the world while they beat, torture, and do whatever to not only her son, but to his wife. Committed no crime. All they did was speak their opinion on someone else's opinion. They gave a different way of looking at things, and we're seeing the price to pay. But in total, we're all paying that price, and we're paying that price as far as what took place a couple of days ago in California. And this guy, out of middle suburbia, upper middle suburbia, he was an upper middle class person. So for you people that's watching the video who live in that upper middle class world, and you think that your bubble is safe, no bubble is safe. And summer hasn't even started. We haven't even talked about gangs. Gangs are coming out. Everyone's coming out. You got road rage coming out. You got people now who just are saying, hey, enough is enough, and they're gonna do whatever. So uh, what what I want to get out to our viewers, what I want to get out the message to you is that we have to do our part, and that's why I put that video, because that video is something like 2 hours long. But what you hear in this video, let me back up. There's an NBA basketball player. His name is Kwame Brown. He was 17 years old when he came into professional sports, but he dealt with so much abuse. But he never said anything about it. So throughout the years, the news made he was the butt of every joke. Any kind of time something came up with that sport, his name would be thrown out there. And the guy stayed quiet. And this is what I'm saying, that 2021 people are not doing that anymore. So you cannot just look at things that you sit back and a friend is gossiping and and they're speaking on someone else, or they want you to treat someone else in a certain kind of way. you know we have to stand. We have to say no. We have to stand for, oh, that's the topic, standing for those less fortunate. We can be bystanders, or we can be active to say, hey, this is wrong. And what these former athletes are saying, they're telling a different story about what happened to Kwame Brown. Nobody knew that he was being abused. Nobody knew that when he came into the sport as a 17-year-old kid, that the person, Michael Jordan, who everybody thinks is this great leader, this great champion, but what we're finding out about this guy is he's a real creep, because of what he did to this 17-year-old kid. And if you watch the video, the former players that played with him, he's a young kid. He signed a big contract. He was the #1 overall pick. He came into the league, and then he's playing with the best, or not the best, but he played with a basketball player who was, one of the top players of his time. I'm not going to call him the greatest after hearing what these guys had to say about what he put Kwame Brown through. So Kwame Brown grew up in a single-family home. His mother raised him. So 17 years old, he signed a contract to play for a professional team, and he bought his mother a house. That's what every child wants to do. So, he accomplished something that most people can never do. Most of us out here can never do. So, for the people in the news to call him, a wash and a scrub and, a bum and every kind of name that you could think of. And this is on top of playing with, playing with, he was like the captain of the team, and he would mistreat him. Not only would he mistreat him, the coach would mistreat him. And, the players knew. They knew that something was going on. And, those players didn't do nothing. That's the sad part about it. They didn't do anything when they had the chance, because, what we learn from this is when people are in power, if you speak up, and they have they have a right to take away your livelihood for it. So it's almost like saying, we're going to treat this person badly, and, you're just going to stand there and take it. And if you stand up for this person, it can be you. But after years of hearing this, Kwame Brown gathered all kinds of information on the people, the people in the news that were, speaking on him, the same personal stuff that they were spreading about him. He reversed it. And a few of them had delinquency with minors and all kinds of stuff. So it's like you're pointing fingers on a former NBA player, but at the same time, nobody's pointing fingers that, you were arrested and you settled out of court for this charge, So what they did is they sent lawyers after this guy. And the news is saying, oh, he's crazy, he's unstable, he's unhappy because of his NBA career, his professional career and how it went. And this is not true, and we're seeing that this is not true. So, I added that video to Facebook. I didn't put it on my page. I put it on Facebook along with the other article. But what the point of what I'm trying to make is that, we hear things and we think that, all these things are true. It's almost like we want to be involved in things in some way, shape, or form, like to be in the know. But we have to realize that people get hurt. And, you can only do so much. And, for me to put that video out there and to speak on this, and then to speak on, the things that are happening, all these things tie in. Because within that interview of those 4 former players, there was one player who pointed out that, the news would go back and forth to 2 different players and telling them, oh, this person said this. What do you have to say about it? And then go back to the other person and say, well, this person said that. It was almost like he watched something, but he stood up and he confronted the media person. So, you know, if you have the time to watch that video, you know, take the time to watch it, because right now this is playing out in the news. And it's just a sad ordeal. It's telling us that, you know, a lot of scripts are being played. You know, a lot of narratives are being sown where, you know, first of all, no respect to those people in the media. No respect to those people that are around you or I that can do things like that. These people are the most evil people. They're dirty. And we need to let these dirty people be to them dirty, you know, be dirty people. But we're also finding out that, you know, nothing is etched in stone. You know, the sad thing about karma is karma never happens the way you think that it's going to happen. You know, and but also condolences to those people out in San Jose, California. And you know, I spoke in my last video about how, you know, when I was involved in a mass shooting, not once but twice, and you know, I just became numb to it. But one of the things that I pointed out is where, you know, the person that was in the mass shooting, he literally came right up to me, put the gun to my head, and you know, the person, the other gunman that was with him said, you know, no, not them. So I always said that it was my karma. And this is what, for the viewers, the good people that are watching this, you know, always let your karma be right. Always let your karma be pure. And even if you don't have the chance to speak up, get away from the situation. Because there's so many ways that we can look, and I'm going to jump. So now I'm going to jump into San Jose, what happened in San Jose, California. There were a lot of people in that room. That gunman knew who he was after. He knew who he was after, you know, but it was a message to everyone that was in that room. And that's one thing that we have to understand. But nobody knows when things like this are going to happen. No one does. But, you know, for the individual, for that individual, as well as for the 14-year-old boy who did what he did, they gave out warning signs. It wasn't like they just carried something out and carried it out, because when you watch the news, what do they say? And I said this way back in earlier videos about this, that, you know, there's, before the storm, you know what I'm saying, there's always going to be clouds before the storm. You know, nothing just takes place and just blows up. It's a chain of events that carry on and carry on and carry on until they explode. And what does the world do? We all sit back and say, oh, well, I didn't, you know, I'm not going to use my words. Use the words of what happened with the 14-year-old boy. When they talked to the other students, he had told them on several occasions that was what he was going to do, and they didn't believe him. And then the guy who was in San Jose, California, sat back, told people, told his former wife, told his wife what he was going to do, and probably told other people what he was going to do. They didn't believe him because they don't fit the character of somebody that would carry something like that out. But we're finding that out all too well. Now, as far as summertime coming, mass shootings have already, there's 232 mass shootings this year alone. 232 mass shootings this year alone. You want to know how many mass shootings happened in 1 week? Last week, 16. Don't believe me? Fact check. Or you can go along with the narrative of what the media is spinning, which, you know, it's not really important. You know, everything is gun control. But yet and still, no one is sitting back to say, hey, it's not the guns. It is not the guns. It's our failure. People that are my age, our failure to turn around and to make change. To make change. To not, we promoted so much separation that we allowed ourselves to be separated. We allowed programs that brought children together. We got rid of all these youth programs. We segregated the schools. So many different activities just in my city alone, or this is where I live, but where I grew up in a bigger city. Just in that city alone, I watched all the programs leave. And you know what's crazy about it is, me and a friend of mine, you know, we were sitting back and we were talking about a pool that was the biggest pool that they had in the whole city. They closed that pool down. And she was like, why did they close that pool down? I said, because if you take away the water, you take away the fun, you take away the parks, what else do the children have to do? Have to be in the street. So who makes money? The court system, the police departments, uh, the prison systems. It's all, if we're not saying these, we talk about mass incarceration, but don't know how mass incarceration works. It starts from childhood. However, the reverse effect of this, where if we want to look at in terms of race, you have more uh, Caucasian children trying to emulate what's going on in the inner city. So now you got gangs formed out there, and who do you have to blame? The things that have to do with karma is that when you put karma on one race of a people, your people end up suffering. It was always like, segregate the blacks from the whites, but then again, it made white women run towards black men. It's like, what's so special about these men that, that they don't want us to be around them? What's so special about them? And, no matter how we look at 2021, one thing that is a fact, that everyone, COVID is nothing compared to what's to come. Nothing compared to what's to come. And that's, why we have to prepare ourselves now. And I say it, and I told my friend yesterday when, we sat back and we spoke, and we were, when I said to her, I said, hey, we broke every record, and the gangs haven't even come out yet. So she was like, you know what, you're right, because if you look at those numbers and you add those numbers into what's going on, wow. So, I don't know any other way to say what it is that we can do, because I think that the tipping point is already done. I think the tipping point is already done, and um, all I can ask is that, for everybody out there, to be safe, to understand what's going on with your surroundings, and that if someone is speaking to you and you come in contact, or someone tells you of someone, advise them, that if someone is if they're experiencing something like that, lend a hand. And I say good morning to everyone, and to say good morning to you, the viewers, to say good morning to the people that all over the world. It makes me feel good, because it lets you know that, hey, there's somebody out there that feels just like you. Somebody that doesn't look down upon you. That's somebody that wants to see the best in you. But we live in a world where there's people that they don't even see the best in themselves. And how these people have friends. To me, I could never be friends with someone. In all my videos, I walk away from people. There are no second chances, because if you can put a person down, then I'm not going to put that person down because you put that person down. I'm not going to see the worst in that person because you see the worst in that person. And I'm not going to condone if I'm around to see something like that. So, wherever we can do our part, is not to say to intervene, but not to intervene, but to acknowledge the fact that something is wrong. And I think that carries a lot of weight to a person, even if you're saying it to the person and you say, hey, I apologize, for what's going on, but there's nothing really too much that I can do. I just hope that, I'm saying that I don't feel this way, and I think that you're an all right person, and if you need someone to talk to, I'm always here. You can talk to me. So it's those little things that we can do that make a difference. But as far as these youth programs, we have to have those back. We have to. We're spending so much time. We spend so much on war, and we spend so much on locking people up. We spend so much money on dumb stuff, and we don't even, spend the money to raise our children. Not only do we not spend the money to raise our children, we don't even have the power to control what it is that they're watching. So the media has our children. The media is raising our children. The media and the music industry and all this other stuff, and most people are not aware that a good portion of the raps, a good portion of the music that those kids are hearing, are based on real actual deaths. People who are being killed in these streets. Yet and still, there's no uproar. There's no outcry. And you know, you have to think of an industry who's making money from it. You have to think of people who they know that, you know, they're in these studios and they're saying, they're talking about these murders. And it's like, here, put that on, put that, you know, let's record this, and here's $1 million for your song, and then we'll play it on the radio. It's sick. You know, the things that are happening right now are sick. They're sick on a grand scale. You know, and we have to stop hiding. We really have to stop hiding from these things, and we really have to, you know, take a stand. You know, I'm surprised that there's no outcry. You know, because at the end of the day, it's a rebellion. These incidences that are happening in 2021 is a mass rebellion, and it was brought along by us, allowing what you see now to happen. So, you know, I want everyone to have a beautiful day. Have the most beautiful day that you can. And I wish that this video could have been a little more upbeat. I was going to do a video on love, but, you know, right now, we have no choice but to show love. You know, people are dying, not just old people, young and old, and it's not COVID. And condolences to those who are still going through the, you know, COVID and losing loved ones as well. So, with that, everyone, have a beautiful day. And I want to leave you with this: if we stand for nothing, if we don't stand for something, we stand for nothing. And nothing is what we're seeing going on right now, because everything goes. So have a beautiful day, have an awesome day. Peace and